Thank you all very much for being here and for Republica for having me, my team, and the Gold Container. I'd like to begin with an important disclaimer, which is I'm often in rooms with people who know a lot more than me about art, architecture, and technology, but rarely is the room this capacious, and rarely is the crowd as deeply knowledgeable as you. So please go gentle. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what this portal is over the course of this talk, and then hopefully you can check it out because it's going to be here for the next couple of days. So in 1947, my grandmother fled Lahore, Pakistan during partition. She fled by train at night with fires burning outside her window. She moved to India, married my grandfather, and he was a map maker, and he spent the next 40 years traveling up and down the India-Pakistan border, charting it in very fine detail. My grandmother gave birth to my mother, who spent her childhood traveling through desert sands and mountain passes before migrating to America and giving birth to me. 60 years after my grandmother fled Pakistan, I became a reporter for the Washington Post, and I traveled around the world for a year video blogging about how people perceive America. Now, this was in 2007, so George Bush was president, and the short answer to my year of travels was America was not perceived terribly well. But this took me to 12 countries, including Pakistan. So I was the first member of my family to be back since my grandmother fled 60 years before. Now, my grandmother read all of my pieces up to then very scrupulously, but she'd always complained that they were too short because she didn't know she was supposed to click continue. So I finally set her straight by the time I was in Lahore, Pakistan, and she read all of my pieces with a great degree of interest. You know, she wanted to know what life was like in Lahore for the Muslim kids who she grew up with, who now were still there, who she hadn't seen in ages. But my pieces tended to be about the political life in Pakistan, about what people in arts and politics and culture thought about the US. But I told Nanny, you know, my pieces might not give you what you want. You know, you might not be able to feel what life is like in Lahore, but pretty soon, Google or Facebook or Skype will create a hologram, and you'll be able to plop down on the street in Lahore and talk to passersby, you know, just like that. So that was the dream, and I assumed it would sort of happen. But in 2009, she passed away, and I went to law school, you know, and so I started preparing for a life of policy papers and punditry, reading about foreign affairs and politics, and began to wonder myself what life was like on those Lahore streets. You know, I'm from the United States. I was in New Haven, and I began to really miss my time on the road. I missed getting on a bus in the evening without a cell phone. My laptop would die. I'd have no book to read in the evening light. And so to pass the time, I'd talk to a stranger next to me. And those were the most moving conversations of my life because I had nothing really to prove to them. It would be over before I knew it. And a lot of the social cues that placed me didn't resonate on a bus ride across Mexico or Pakistan or Philippines. And I heard incredible stories about a Filipino woman trying to find her lost father or a Mexican revolutionary heading to his final pilgrimage as he prepared to die. Now, when I came back to the US, I didn't even talk to strangers on the bus next to me. I was always on my iPhone or my iPad. And when I went online, even by 2014, I went on LinkedIn to get a job or Tinder to get a date. And when I met a stranger, it was always to get a job or get a date. I never really talked to someone in that way of just losing myself in time and sharing a moment with them in pure, unadulterated focus. At the same time, I began wondering what those Lahore streets were like myself. So that brings me more or less to where I am now. I pivoted away from law and towards art, and started to think a lot about that very common trope that we've all been reading about no matter where you are on Earth, that you enter a closet or a wormhole, you enter a rabbit hole, and you're transported to another time, to another place. I started to think more prosaically, what if you just walked into your local coffee shop and could share a coffee with someone in another part of the world? What would that feel like? What would that look like? And I started to talk about this idea with a ton of different people who said to me, we already have this. We already have Skype. Why do you need this? But then I talked to others who kind of intuitively got that there was something else missing. And those people sort of jumped into action and really helped take this daydream, of wandering in and meeting someone in another country to a reality. They disciplined the daydream. So one of them is here in front of me, named John Farace, making weird signals that I'm not sure what they mean. And he and I and really a couple other people started just looking for references and thought, well, do we want to build an inflatable structure? Do we want to go into a coffee shop? We want to create the illusion that you're walking through the internet, but what does that really mean? So after a good amount of time, we settled on the standard intermodal shipping container because it's secure, it's accessible, it's not that expensive, it's uniform. And my parents finally, their nightmare came through. And I bought a used shipping container, moved it into their backyard, broke down the fence, and there it is. Now, the neighbors got really upset. First, they said I was living in the container and called the local police. I was not living in the container. Then they complained that it was an eyesore regardless. And on that point, I definitely agree. So I started trying to paint the container different colors to just calm them down. We tried white, it was too hot, too much like an art box. Black made it too hot. Silver was too precious. And finally, I settled on this darker gold. And unlike the lighter gold, it conveys sort of the sacred and the commercial. You can see through that gold an imperfect reflection of yourself. And you can see the markings of where the containers have been and their weight. So it sort of pulled out the symbolic resonance of the container as a choice, and it calmed the neighbors down for a little while. On the inside, wanted it to feel comfortable, warm, and so we carpeted it in this gray, uniform gray carpet. And then my uncle, who you see in the back of that picture there, he's an optical scientist, which was incredibly convenient, and he helped with camera selection and lens selection to minimize the optical distortion of trying to get a single camera, to create the illusion of that spatial continuity. And we're always working on that piece. The final act of that part of the creation was to stencil the outside, a portal to, and then a bunch of the countries where I hoped we would go, which included Iran and Cuba and Afghanistan. And at that, the neighbors really freaked out, one in particular, and she called the FBI, which came and interrogated me and the container, and then ultimately realized that it was just a portal and not a portal that was a terrorist cell, which was what the reporting was. Which I think is funny. I mean, to have a terrorist cell in gold telling you where you're plotting. Anyway, so with that, the portal was in its more or less current form, and the second form of discipline came, which was people. Who do we connect? Now, my grandmother had passed away. This was now 2015. She had been gone for 6 years. And I didn't really care, per se, where these two sites connected. I just kind of missed it. But Michelle Moqtader, she really did care. And I knew her from my days as a journalist. And I reached out with the idea, and she got really into it. At the time, she was reporting for Reuters in Dubai and in Tehran. And she was facing a frustration I think a lot of journalists do face, which is in Iran, the stories about America were quite unidimensional. And in America, the stories about Iran were very unidimensional. And Michelle, who went back and forth to both as an Iranian American, wanted her friends to actually speak. And so this idea resonated with her, and she went to Iran many, many times, despite a lot of people saying that, the government won't let you do it, or, the internet's too slow. Michelle really pushed through it and identified, I think, the perfect partner in Sohrab Kashani, who's there wearing a super Sohrab costume, which is entirely unrelated to this project. Sohrab runs a contemporary art space in Iran, and his work is about grounding the connective potential of the internet in a physical space. In particular, he was denied a visa to the US, and so he hired a human being in New York to wear Google glasses and walk around the streets as his human avatar, speaking as Sohrab, listening as Sohrab. So he actually made the closest thing to the hologram that I had told my grandmother about all those years before. So when that all came together, I knew he was the perfect partner. And he got to work building an interior portal. So he didn't build a shipping container. He just took a room, which you see, carpeted in black with some friends, and created more or less the same interior structure as what we were creating in the US. So this is Iran building it up. I'm just going to jump ahead. No, I can't do that, so one more second. And then in New York, we were in a gallery in the Lower East Side. And it's an art space. We couldn't fit a container in there, but by that point, I was so committed to the form that we as a team made one inside the Lower East Side gallery. And then we launched. And so we invited people to enter the portal for 20 minutes at a time, well, at first 8 minutes at a time, to have a conversation with someone in the other portal, as if in the same room, about what would make today a good day for you. The idea for the prompt was that it be personal, specific, but not, I hope for world peace. More, I hope my dog doesn't chew through the furniture, So we launched, and we, at first, were pretty slow. I'll tell you about this in a second, but we were pretty slow. A lot of folks didn't show up, so we ended up letting people sit in the portal as long as we wanted. And one of our first people went in, and we forgot about him. And 2 hours later, he came out talking about what he and this stranger in Iran, who similarly was just chilling there for 2 hours, talked about, which was everything from their ailing fathers to sexuality to personal aspirations. It struck, I think, the same feeling I had on the bus of losing yourself in this moment of time, in a space of timelessness where cell phones don't work, where you're alone with a stranger. So there's a lot of these kinds of stories, and I'll tell you just a few. But the important point now is, in addition to the one-on-one conversations, which we expanded from 8 minutes up to 20 because people wanted more time, we had people come back to us with specific ideas for how they wanted to use the portal in addition, outside the context of a one-on-one conversation. So the one-on-one conversations took place in the morning. Strangers went in, we started to get pretty booked up, and you reserved online, you came in for 20 minutes, and we had a live interpreter as needed. But people came back and said, my parents are, let's see if this plays. Might not. Well, this is a video, but I'll just tell you about it. So this is an example of one of the uses that people put it to. They came in and said, look, I'm an artist or I'm a teacher, and I would love to connect my classroom or so forth to someone abroad. Now, James Karoni is an Iranian American, but who had never been to Iran, and his father fled the country and really didn't look back. James is a dancer, and he has a lot of family in Iran he's never really danced for. They've seen it on YouTube. So he created a dance for them, did it in the portal, and had his family on the other end, and came out, weeping and deeply moved because he felt, like he said, quote, that he was feeling the same, breathing the same air. And, we began to get more stories like this. We had classrooms.
The subject that you are interested in, for example,
We have like a substitute teacher in Iran teaching kids in New York about life. As a side note, that woman Masa, who's speaking right now, ended up marrying Sorab, and they met through the portal, so that was our first portal marriage. But they met in the same Iran portal. And so there's a whole host of kind of artist collaborations, and then we got a lot of press, which was very helpful. The audio, again, is like not that important, so I'll just talk over it. But we had press come from around the world, and that was important for us to get the word out. By the time these 2 weeks, because this was really just a 2-week kind of flashbang moment, were over, Michelle and I regrouped and found that this whole thing was more powerful than we had anticipated, that people had come out weeping and giddy in a way that we didn't expect. We expected them to think it was cool, neat. And I think we began to reflect on why, and also then chart a future. So briefly, to reflect on why, I think portals as a structure worked for folks because it was private. You didn't tweet it or Facebook it instantly. We didn't record the conversations. It was fleeting, time-limited. It was across a pronounced form of psychic distance. You know, Iran and the US were very loaded. And it was one-on-one. So you weren't performing. The most talkative guy in the group didn't dominate. It was an isolated moment in time. But I think the most important facet of this whole project, and of launch in particular, was the association of the world of art, the idea of purposelessness. Because people came to the portal like you would come a bit to a painting or a sculpture, out of a sense of curiosity, hoping to be filled with joy or ambivalence or boredom or ecstasy, you know, who knows, but not to necessarily get something, not to get a date or get a job. And that association of purposelessness also allowed people to create their own purposes for the space, to reconnect family, to connect classrooms, to do artist collaborations, to do entrepreneurship dialogues, and so forth. So, having done those 2 weeks, decided we had hit something, luckily, and this I should say was December 2014, so it was not that long ago. Michelle quit her job at Reuters. I had basically checked out of law school anyway, but really checked out now and started working on this when, just a few weeks after, I got an email from Omid Habibi. Now, Omid heard about the portal through BBC Persian, and he was a computer science professor in Herat, Afghanistan, and said, look, you know, I love the idea. I'd like to join the portal's network. And my response was, you know, great. Get a container and bring it to your wherever, and let's do it. You know, there wasn't much of a structure. So I was kind of surprised when Omid actually did buy a shipping container, bring it to his university, Haridwar University, outfit it in a gray carpet with a paisley design, unlike ours, but still very pretty, and then install the technology, which he's doing in this video there, and that's Omid. A week later, by early March, the portal was up. We had a launch event with all sorts of local leaders, and it was connecting to sites around the world by March. Now, this was our first permanent portal. The other two were temporary. It was our first real container portal, and this is a view from the Afghan portal of, in this case, a San Francisco portal. So as you can see, because I know I haven't really shown you what it looks like on the inside, the vision is you enter a big, dark shipping container that's 20 feet long, or 6 meters long, and as you look down it, you see continuously into the other container. You don't wear goggles, you don't wear headphones, you don't wear this, nothing. So the feeling of being unencumbered is quite important, and it opens up, as you can see, to the city. Let's see if these videos are working. Oh yeah, they are. So this portal they started using for all sorts of things. Like dance competitions, storytelling competitions, entrepreneurship dialogues, all sorts of things that every day there was a different use for this portal with our growing sites around the world. So over the past year now, we've grown to a number of sites. And I'll just flash through a couple and then give you the list. But this is Washington, D.C., this is Mexico City, this is Miami, this is New Haven and Rwanda, this is a refugee camp, an IDP camp in Erbil, Iraq. This is San Francisco, looking at Afghanistan at night. This is Zaatari, a Syrian refugee camp in Jordan. This I'm not exactly sure where. And this is a map of where we are, about 14 months in, with a similar process of people reaching out to us, saying we love the idea, and working with us to get a portal, figure out how to fund it, and then staffing it. Now, I think the important point to pause on here is staffing, running it. Portals don't just exist in space. They are staffed. They're rooted in a community, which gives them trust, which gives them reach. They are staffed by people. And each portal is staffed by what we call a portal curator, who provides live interpretation as needed, but also programs the space. So if you come up and say, we want to host a global tech dialogue on society, right? We could then reach out to all our portal curators, and they could program locally. So this is, from Newark, New Jersey, to Havana, to Sohrab in Iran, to Omid down here, to Honduras, and this is Lewis from Milwaukee. Now, all of this was, again, faster than we had anticipated, incredibly exciting to see people take this idea and run with it in the way that they did. But for me, one of the moments that really affected me the most was when a Cuban woman who fled Cuba went to the portal and had her first conversation with someone in Cuba in decades. And she was old, she was ailing a little bit, and was generally down, and came in and spoke to a person who grew up on the same street of her in Havana. She did this from Washington, D.C. This is just a little clip of that.
The young man that I spoke to lives in the same neighborhood that I grew up in many, many years ago, and I haven't been back there in 46 years. So I have no idea what it looks like now, and it was just very exciting to talk to him, and we talked about the elementary schools that we had gone to, and the streets that were familiar to us, and it was just very moving to hear that.
And how do you feel after speaking to him?
I want to talk to him some more. I want to do this again. It's wonderful. It's as I said, I haven't been back in 46 years, and hopefully one day I will go back and walk those streets again. But this is about as close as I'm going to come, I guess, for now.
So obviously this affected me because it reminded me completely of my grandmother and the type of things she might have said. And she's been a lovely supporter of portals and our connections around the world since. Now, the next little piece I'm going to tell you is about another person who went to the portal, in this case in New Haven, and came out with an idea of her own. Her name's Tracy Mears. She's a law professor at Yale, and she works on criminal justice and race in the United States, and pointed out very reasonably that the divisions within our communities, within our cities, within our countries, are as pronounced, if not more sometimes, than the divisions between Iran and the US. So she proposed creating a dialogue between inner city communities in America and other sites within America on issues of race, criminal justice, and police-community relations. So, just 2 weeks ago, we launched our first domestic US portal pairing between Milwaukee and, in particular, a community in Milwaukee, a zip code with the highest incarceration rate in America, which in turn has the highest incarceration rate of any major country in the world, and a homicide rate of 250 per 100,000. And this community is now connected to others in dialogue on race and criminal justice. And in this case, it's being anonymously transcribed and analyzed by these Yale researchers to see how people construct their narratives of the police. Because surveys tell you how someone feels at a moment in time, but dialogue tells you how they arrive at that emotional place. And they're using the portal for all sorts of stuff too, including video game competitions, which I think is what this represents. So, portals is not really about a geography in particular. It's more about creating a moment, a certain kind of space. And prompting a moment in which we converse with someone unlike ourselves for no particular purpose. And I think that now, we think, I should say, now, as always, but maybe even more than at prior points, dialogue across these forms of distance for no particular reason are particularly powerful. Just as a quick aside, one of the conversations that took place in the portal with Afghanistan was a drone pilot in America who had never spoken to an Afghan, though flew over the country all the time. Another one was a Defense Department contractor who spent 4 months in Afghanistan and said she had never had a meaningful conversation because each encounter was so predetermined. It was so instrumentalized. Okay, so why is it important? And we think that right now we have a consolidating mass media, we have a number of forces that ensconce us in our own communities. And that can be great. But to carve out moments in which we go outside of them has value too. And I think several reasons in particular. One reason is, and this is probably the most obvious, it punctures hardened stereotypes of other people. It literally creates room for new ways of understanding what's going on. And it doesn't necessarily have to yield any form of agreement or liking of one another. But it should at least complicate a picture with the image of a human face. The second important reason is it teaches us about ourselves, to look at what we've normalized in our own views of ourselves and question it, think of new possibilities. And then finally, if you think about it, art and politics do share some similarity in that fundamentally the ground it sits on is indeterminate, meaning we continually question and collectively decide what are our values, what do we enjoy, what do we care about. But those values really only come from dialogue when you trust that someone is speaking authentically with no particular purpose about what they truly believe, what their truths are. So that is a sort of meta view of its value. But another way of thinking about it is we want to enhance existing public spaces and create, out of any local park, a link to a global public space. And we want to grow the Portals network wherever anyone wants it so that people can use it in whatever ways they want, starting with what we recommend, that 20-minute dialogue with a stranger, and then moving on to really anything people can fathom. We also have pop-up portal tents, so we're now playing a little bit with the idea. And when you think about this idea, it's a very simple one. It's ageless, timeless, and it has pretty big implications, I think, for public space in particular, which are, doesn't have to be a shipping container, obviously. It doesn't even have to be in a container. It can be video walls like this, which are something we're launching in 2 months, to take street corners and connect them. It can be playgrounds, where you go down the slide in Germany and you pop up and there's a kid in Botswana. And there are infinite ideas. I mean, we have like a huge store of them, but this one is, you're in Tiergarten and you're listening to the sounds of Tahrir Square and they're talking to you here. You can penetrate these wormholes through space in an endless number of ways. And what then becomes important, I think, is that context. Why are we doing it? Why would you do it? Is it to be neat, or to sell more sneakers, Or is there a context behind it which is about something bigger? And so with Portals, because of the people, because of the community, because of being in a place like this, there is that context of what I call purposelessness, but that's not the most compelling description, perhaps, is probably a better word. But an openness to multiple uses, a welcoming of people across forms of distance. This is just one other of our ideas, which is, this also has endless ramifications, but you plop down in one city and you're somewhere else. So, to kind of wrap this up, for me, art has a particular value in teaching me us about ourselves and our values, because it is a space where we have that moment to reflect. And what I noticed about portals, looking back on it now, is a lot of the decisions I made that I thought were for one reason or another, or I just liked, really hit on something very deep in me and tied again to my grandmother. First, the gold color. The gold color reminded me, now I realize, of the little gods and goddesses my grandmother used to keep on her dresser. It was the same shade of gold. And the carpet, that gray carpet, was the same as this movie hall we used to go to that was covered when I was a kid, and I used to love running up against the walls. It felt safe. But I think even more deeply, it was the sort of attention that she gave. And I'd like to think it perhaps is the attention a grandparent can give because they don't have to worry about brushing your teeth or putting you to bed, which was a focus of great intensity. And that, not to get too religious, because I'm not, but that does also make me think of that part of my heritage which is Hindu and which thinks of the idea of bowing down to the divine in someone else, or imperfectly trying to recognize that in the ether, through the container, there's something in there that's always good. And that premise, that idea, I think motivates me and a lot of the team. And so that's what brought me here to you today and what brought this portal out front. Now, I am going to close by saying that kind of magically yesterday, Omid Habibi actually popped out of the portal that was connected to Afghanistan here physically, which has always been the dream. And that's because 2 weeks ago, he moved to Berlin for the next 2 years. So he turns out to be here with us today, which is very exciting. And I just met him for the first time yesterday after us working together for the past almost year and a half. So, Omid, I'm going to have you come up and say it from another perspective, and then we'll take any questions you guys might have. Thank you so much. Go for it.
Salam. Hello, everyone. My name is Omid. As Amar just told you that, I'm a young entrepreneur from Afghanistan and as a young computer science professor in Afghanistan, which I usually don't like to say where I'm from. I will tell you why a bit later. 3 years ago, we started ADIB, Afghan Development and Inspiration Bureau, where in it we help young Afghan students with their innovative ideas to make a business out of their ideas. It's just like in a small incubator. And we've been quite successful in it in the past 2.5 years of operation. As far as I remember myself, I always had this idea of connecting people, cultures, and languages together, because it doesn't matter where we are from. We're all from this earth, and that what matters. And that's why I don't like asking people, where are you from? I usually ask them, where's home? That's more, I like it more. And as Amar showed you, when I saw the news about Portal on Twitter, I kind of told myself that this is it. This is what you're always looking for. And this is a thing that can connect Afghanistan to others, Herat, my city, to the rest of the world. And because no one knows Afghanistan. No one knows what's the real image of Afghanistan is. Afghanistan is pretty unknown. Just everyone in the hall, just ask yourself, what comes first to your mind when you hear Afghanistan? And where is it rooted from? The definition of Afghanistan right now is just war, bomb, killing terrorists. Thanks to Taliban and, of course, media. Sorry for that, folks. Because there's a wrong perception that they created through all the world. And how we can fight against these ideas is just by having one-to-one dialogues and discussions. And through this portal that Amar and the team created it, we can have one-to-one dialogues, and by that, we can explore the cultures and nations by our own, without any means. We can just go there and explore it as much as we wanted it, to just lose yourself in the time and just talk it. That's the biggest thing that a portal can give to you, just to know the people. In the past nearly 15 months of operation of Herat portal in Afghanistan, I've experienced lots of things, lots of cool things. Lots of laughs, talks, dances in the portal. Lots of people love to dance in Afghanistan. It's just really a pretty normal thing there. And singing, rapping, rappers. There were 2 people painting together from Herat to United States. Or even I've seen cries in the portal that they were just excited and amused, and just like some people were sad about it. And I myself, I experienced a truly different thing yesterday when I got to Berlin portal and I saw Herat portal where I created it. And I was talking to my friends back in Herat. It was just like the video that you saw about the woman, that she just haven't gone to her place for about 45 years. But it was just 2 weeks ago that I was in Herat. It was really a creepy feeling that when you see your friend's full body in front of you, it's just like as if in the same room, you're breathing the same air. And that was really nice. I strongly recommend you just go and experience Portal, and you will see how beautiful it is. Thank you, Amar, for this great idea. And thanks, everyone, to give me an opportunity to talk. Thank you for your time.
I don't know if we're doing stay for a second.
So, are there any questions to the portal? And oh yeah, over here.
You can answer them together. There's your one.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Amar. I mean, we are virtual friends. I'm Amir Ali from Tehran.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Hello. I was at the portal, and it was an exciting experience. I want to thank you for bringing this in. But I mean, there was one idea. I have a question, but I have one comment. One idea that always makes my mind occupied about the gays. Of course, there are more people in America. They want to know what's going on in Iran rather than the other way around. So, I mean,
yeah.
We're living with Americans every day. They're in the media, they're in the Hollywood, I mean, we know much more information about the United States than average American has about Iran. So how?
Well, you know, there's this kind of a litany of critiques you can make of this, which I excluded from the speech, but I'll address now. So yeah, so one is, of course, this idea of, you know, is this a place where rich Westerners go in and talk to others? I'll let Omid respond partly to that, but I would just say this about the Iran portal, and we just launched one in Isfahan as well. The point of the portal's network is not that it is the US and Iran. I mean, it's the point that it is Iran and Mexico and Iran and Havana and Iran and Kenya and Iran and the US and Iran and Berlin. Now, the power of that idea is, sure, each of those pairings is loaded. Each of them is loaded. And yet, because you do all of them, it saps some of the stress of any one. And people come in with a variety of different purposes. Some probably do come to gaze and find out what it's like to be a Syrian refugee. And some Syrian refugees come in looking for visa interest or a job. That is life. That is our world. And so I don't think we're reinforcing it so much as highlighting it to the extent it's there, and dealing with the questions of this world that we inhabit, putting people head on in those conversations. But one thing about the Iran portal that I was excited with Isfahan, or with Mexico in particular, because I know the Germany-Berlin year is coming up, is, you know, Mexico doing a piñata teaching class for Iran, right? And Iran doing something similar and a creative performance about, the purple thumb and elections, right? And so fascinating dialogues about cultural creativity, political regimes, life. I think that what you learn across the network gives it its enduring value, rather than any particular pairing. But Omi, do you want to, that's a question I think well suited for you to answer too.
How was the impression of people talking to their American counterpart that might be conceived as bad guys invading their country? I mean, of course, it was a thrilling experience for people, but you saw it in the first hand. And my second question to you, Amar, is about funding. Did you do crowdfunding, or did you get collaborated with universities, companies? How
Sure.
you get
So
this?
I'll let him go and then I'll talk.
The experiences of Harat people or Afghans, they were quite surprised and excited about that, because when you walk there and you talk with a person that you think is just an enemy, but he's not, it brings peace by itself. Knowing another person, it just gives you an inner peace. And every time a person that was inside the portal, I asked them when they were out, how is the portal, how was it? And they say, I want to do it again. That was super exciting, and I want to have more portal talks. That was one of the things that always happen, and I've never seen anything rather than that.
Yeah, on the funding question is a great one, because we don't know quite yet what our sustainable model is. But I'll pause on that point, because the idea here is that portals as a network is itself a piece. The idea of shared can be teased out across institutional domains. It originates, at least in part, with the idea of people buying shares in a Queen's vessel that goes to the US, and then the Queen's vessel brings back gold or it doesn't, and people are either happy or sad. So from a commercial note comes an emotional valence, and portals is about exploring the idea of shared in numerous instantiations, in a physical space, in a virtual space, in a legal space. I mean, Amar Ali didn't bring it up, but the legal issues of Iran-US are massive. An economic space, relatedly, massive. A media space, massive. So how do you take the idea of shared and critically apply it across domains? That's what we're trying to do, and we're by no means there. But one way I think we want to do it financially is to think of portals as its own global economic unit, which is very hard to do because of all these legal things, and where anyone who joins the portal is equally invested in that network. So, in practice, because we have no money, it doesn't mean much, but every portal curator is paid a set amount everywhere on Earth. So we don't expect people to staff the portal anywhere for free, because, just because it's art doesn't mean it should be free. And when we raised money, crowdfunding was first. If it were durable enough, that would be great. Or crowd investing. I'd love, that'd be fine. In practice, we are making money through institutions who are hosting the portal for various lengths of time. And basically, the shorter the length of time, the more we charge. And that helps cover the whole network, because you bring value to portals when you connect for it permanently or for many years. And those are free to subsidize, to we find a way, sponsors, whatever. But if it's very brief, well, you're joining into this network that has incredible vibrancy, and you're only there for 2-3 days, so we don't really get to draw that much from you, but at least you can help us operate. So we're in the process of the financial model, but we're not going to do it like lazily, right? It needs to be done with the same care, I think, that we have cultivated the human network and the physical network, because we're not Facebook. We don't scale. It takes a lot of lifting just to move a container, and then a lot of lifting to bring a community around it. And the financial lift varies country by country, but it's not negligible. So, you can go online and donate on our website. Amar Ali, you're welcome to as well. We'd appreciate it. Sure.
Hi, Amar. I first want to thank you. I think this is an absolutely incredible idea that you had. I have a more personal question. At the beginning, you were saying that it all started with a daydream that you had. And I think maybe we all have daydreams, especially I have also daydreams. And I was wondering, what did help you the most to turn your daydream into reality? And when did you actually realize that you're doing it?
No question, it's because of people like John and Michelle and Omid. You know, it's a daydream, and then I talk about it, and I have a lot of other daydreams that I talk about and nothing happens. I think it's a great idea, but no one else does. This one had its own cohort of people. Like I said, some were like deeply skeptical. A lot of people were like, you have to give people free stuff. But some just jumped. And so Michelle, Omid, and then a whole bunch of people from around the world, because both Michelle and I were journalists who traveled around the world a lot, which helped. We could tease this idea out. You know, even the prompt, we thought about it for 6 months, you know, collectively. So the daydream piece was manifest because other people got excited and I became accountable to them and they became accountable to me, and we moved it together. I think that was really important. I got some of a scholarship for law school, so I wasn't in dire need to go work at a law firm. There's no question the economics were important, that we could afford to at least take a 3-month risk. But at some point also, it was an idea that clicked with my whole life. And everything I've done from when I was a kid has always been about trying to understand I grew up pretending to be Italian. I mean, I had like no connection to India. And I called myself Armani, you know, because I was really ashamed of India, and my mother, when she fled, wanted nothing to do with it. But I found in my paintings, for example, a lot of the aesthetics that were there manifested in me. So anyway, long way of saying other people and finding it to be the truest idea for me that I'd ever had. Yeah.
So I think that's it. Amar, Omid, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Great.
Thank you.